them put him in the dark.
She will make him pay.
No! Keep going!
Maybe you can get him to eat a shit sandwich. That would be fun.
Why the hell would I? What?
Oh, the spotlight on me. Shine, baby, shine. I'ma take my time. Represent the charm, it's mine. I'ma represent the East showing up.
It's a huge shit sandwich, and we're all gonna have to take a bite.
The West, I'ma buy down the charm, put the T on my chest. Dirt pipes, bits, clubs, and cars. Baltimore stars, hit them hard, we raw. You and your mother.
It's my joke of the week. It's so freaking fantastic.
The models stay cool, ship them in the box, they don't. We here, y'all here, so what you wanna do? Break a pain to your crew. Roll on them niggas.
Look, we gotta go down to the car. Look, we gotta go down to the car. Look, if my car's dark, they destroy the other two cars. Look, we're going out there. We're going out there. Hey, man, who's gonna go out there, man? We got some deal right for you. Go out there. Bro, look, man. What? I'm gonna watch your back, man.
Watch my back.
Man, look.
Man, I will physically put my foot up your ass. You say some shit like that again.
Come on, man. Stop being skin buzzing, man.
Go ahead, man. You better go ahead, man.
Come on, why you like this? Why don't somebody go out there, man? Get your ass up there, man. Hey, man, you better squash that. I ain't going nowhere, Joe. Look, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Hi, I'm Spice Williams Crosby from Fatal Games, and you are listening to Hysteria Continues.
And indeed you are. Welcome back to episode 134, I believe, and this is a very special episode. It's I believe it's our 6th birthday, and as you could probably tell from the intro, we're going to be covering Michael Powell's seminal proto-slasher Peeping Tom. Well, actually, no, we're not. Last year we covered Psycho, the granddaddy of all the slasher movies, and this time we've taken what could be described as a left turn away from Class and Hitchcock to the other spectrum, the other side of the spectrum of the slasher movie. And that's, we can thank or possibly blame our special guest today, David Molay. Is that how you pronounce your last name, David? Is it Molay?
Yeah, that is correct.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you for coming aboard. You've been a part of this kind of slasher bandwagon for many years, haven't you? You were on the Body Count Continues forums. Well, you were on the alt horror news group as well, weren't you? Before that, or am I?
No, not that far
back. Not that far back. Not back to the dinosaur age for me and Joseph and Nathan, I believe. But no. Well, thank you for being with us. We're going to obviously dissect, possibly even you, for picking this for Ax'Em, which has been described as the worst slasher movie ever made, and possibly, well, very probably with good reason. But it's very good to have you with us, and I know it's very early for you. 6 a.m. in the glorious land of Trump. So
don't bring it up.
No, won't bring it up. Okay, so
let's just pretend.
Let's just pretend, and maybe this will be the last podcast. And what better way to go out in a blaze of glory than with Ax'Em? So
I still think he's super dreamy.
Who Trump or the guy in Ax'Em?
So dreamy.
I don't like
annoying oranges.
I love it.
He always looks like he just finished sucking on a lemon. Every time he talks, he looks like,
which is ironic because he's orange.
A lemon.
Yes, yeah. Oranges and lemons.
But it's just like his face all like pursed out. It's so weird. I'm like, no. I'm not getting into politics, but he's weird looking.
Worst podcast, like seriously, I could do a better podcast. Like seriously,
citrus fruit come to life.
Yeah,
but
that's Trump.
As a vegan, you should like him, Justin.
Why?
Because he's a big citrus fruit. Because he looks like he sucked a lemon and he looks like an orange.
I don't really think that's a criteria that I would choose for my politicians, to be honest, whether they look like fruit. But anyway, enough of Trump. But from one bad thing to another, we will be talking about Ax'Em a little bit later. But how's everyone else doing? David, are you doing good? You're in Ohio, aren't you, I believe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The wonderful state of Ohio.
Excellent. Well, as we've had, my geography, American geography, is very poor. But how far away are you from Joseph and Nathan, in mileage?
He's about 450 miles.
Oh, so in American terms, that's kind of next door, really, isn't it?
No,
too far.
Too far.
Too far away.
Okay.
It's about a 6 to 8 hour drive. So.
Okay. Right. Well,
but in the grand scheme of things, that's nearby in terms of America.
Yeah.
All right. Sure.
Yeah.
I thought it would be.
I know that.
What films were made in Ohio? Is there any slasher movies made in Ohio?
Nightmare on Elm Street is set in Ohio if you ignore the palm trees and everything. Since they recorded in L.A., I think.
Yes, I think they did. So,
but it's set in Ohio, so I'll take it.
Cool. Oh. Cool. Excellent. Well, that's
all I have is Rawhead Rex.
That's really all you need.
Yeah, Justin doesn't have anything in Bristol, do you, Justin?
The only thing in Bristol was that Being Human. That was set in Bristol, but that's not really. Yeah, no, nothing. In Brighton, when I lived in Brighton, there was that Dirty Weekend. That was filmed there.
Oh, the Michael Winner film.
Yeah, very cheesy Michael Winner sort of rape revenge film. But as dear old Michael Winner, now long departed. But yes, so well, in Time Honored Tradition, well, tell us how you've been doing, Nathan and Joseph. But if you want to also talk, let's little catch up on what we've been watching recently and rattle through a few recommendations or not recommendations. Nathan, how about you going first? What have you watched recently?
I watched The Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Okay, yeah.
I thought it was great. I mean, I don't want to talk it up too much because I feel like when a movie gets like very good word of mouth, that it comes around and somebody will eventually watch it and say, well, that wasn't that great. And I'm like, well, you shouldn't get your hopes up about it. Just, go into it with an open mind, I say. Not everybody's going to like it, but to me, I thought it was really fun. It had its fair share of creepy moments. The tension was great in the film. It was a very tense atmosphere. And I'm not going to go too far into the plot because I don't want to spoil anything, but the basic plot line is this father and son that work in their home. They're doing an autopsy, and it's in this small town. And they're in the basement of their like secluded house, and they're doing like the autopsy of this body that just got brought in that has like no visible marks on it, and she's basically a Jane Doe. And as they're doing this autopsy, these crazy things start happening. That's as far as I'll go with it. But, it's a lot of fun, great scenes, great acting. It was a pleasant surprise for me. Has anybody else seen it?
I did.
Yes, I have.
Yes, I have as well.
Oh, everybody has.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I might have mentioned it on the last podcast. I'm not sure if I did. But
I feel like you did, but I don't know.
I thought you said you were going to watch it, but I don't know if you said you had watched
it. Okay.
Oh.
No, okay. Oh, that's... yeah, okay. But yeah, I did watch it. I mean, I quite liked it. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would, and I think, again, it probably fell foul to that whole hype thing. But I thought it was pretty solid. It was pretty solid. It kind of, yeah, it just missing a little something for me. But it's pretty solid compared to a lot of the crap that's out there. So that's another line for the box art.
Yeah, more solid than a lot of the crap out there.
Yeah. So, what about you, David? Did you say you saw it?
Yeah, I saw it maybe a week or two ago.
What did you think of it?
I'm not one to usually believe the hype when it comes to movies because I know every time I, get my hopes up and then it just all comes crashing down. I really liked the first half. It slowly built up. I literally had no idea what the movie was going to be about, what kind of movie it was going to be. So I was really liking it. And then about the halfway mark, not to spoil anything, but it just takes a complete 180 turn and becomes something else. At the end of it, I think I still enjoyed it. It just, I don't know. It wasn't everything I was building it up to be in my head, I guess.
Okay, no, that's a fair comment. I think I probably agree with that. Although I like the idea behind it. I think it just kind of went from being kind of creepy to a bit silly. I kind of guess that was kind of my feeling. What about you, Erik?
Yeah, I quite liked the 180-degree turn halfway through, I have to say. I did enjoy it. The reason I saw it was, I told you I got an Xbox as a little treat for myself after Christmas, and you can get all these apps that will stream video for you quite illegally. It's basically Netflix, but not legal. And I don't know how Microsoft can get away with this, but as long as they do, I'm going to avail of it. So it was on there in a pristine widescreen print. So that's how I watched it. Yes, keeping up my old, pirate stereotype there. I did enjoy it.
Oh, Erik.
I know. But I mean, if it's there, I didn't download it.
You just downloaded a program to download illegally, to stream illegally. Was it Kodi?
I didn't know it was going to stream stuff illegally. It's called Free Movies HD, and I downloaded it thinking it was going to be just public domain titles. And I said, there might be one or two things on there I'll watch. But then when I went into it, it had all the latest cinema releases, like shot in camcorders. But it also has a huge back catalogue of other stuff. As soon as something comes out in Blu-ray or DVD, it's ripped and it's up there. Which as I said, I don't know how Microsoft get away with it, but because I'm so used to being an Apple product consumer that they're so strict they wouldn't allow this type of nonsense. But thankfully, Microsoft do. So I was able to watch The Autopsy of Jane Doe, which I did really like, because I remember Amanda was on talking about it, but I can't remember the specifics. I remember she said she liked it, but I don't remember the plot. So like David, I went in not knowing really what was happening. So I actually liked the twist it takes halfway through. And I thought it was suitably creepy. And in a week where I've had to watch Ax'Em twice, it seemed a masterpiece.
Well, there is that comparison.
That might have skewed my opinion as well, because this is amongst watching that film. So, and I agree with Erik. I know a lot of people, they're kind of iffy about the twist, but I liked it. But
yeah, I like it.
It does seem like it's going to be one of those movies where people either love the twist or hate it, or they love the first half more than the second half, or vice versa. I can see that happening a lot. Yeah, that's a good comparison.
Excellent. Well, Joseph, what about you? You've seen it as well, presumably legally. Unlike
yes, I actually watched it legally. I liked it a lot. I like that you're basically dealing with two unreliable narrators in the mortician characters, so you really don't have an idea of what's going on. You're just kind of getting their knowledge of the situation, and they're not experts. So I kind of like that. I do like the build-up better than the second half, like David. But all in all, I found it pretty rousing. It's short and to the point. So a thumbs up from me.
Excellent.
Did you say pretty arousing?
Yeah, he said pretty arousing.
Rousing.
You like dead
bodies. I did find the dead bodies sexy, so.
Jimmy Savile.
I would like to say I did love Brian Cox in the movie. I haven't seen him in anything.
Oh, well, there's
in
an
a
opportunity for.
Did you say Brian Cox?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Justin's get his editing tools out again, saying, I do like Cox.
Well,
you did that to me before.
Let me just see, where is that? 16 minutes 25. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Let's jot that down.
That kind of party.
Nathan, thank you. Anything else you've been watching?
Well, it's not horror related, but I had to bring it up just for Eric's sake, even though he already knows about it. But I did get to go see the Dirty Dancing live theater show. Oh, it was amazing. It was so much fun.
Yeah, Justin, you'd even like it.
Yeah, well,
it's so brilliant.
It's really good. It's high. It was very high energy, and it was really funny at times, and the dance numbers were crazy.
Okay.
And I asked Wes, if it's okay if we do the lift, but apparently I'm too heavy for that. So thanks a lot.
Ooh.
Did he put you in the corner though?
That's harsh.
Yes, he did.
Joe would be really easy to lift. Would be,
but
Justin.
In his defense, he put me in a corner because I was watching Ax'Em.
Well, yeah, he deserved it then.
That's one watermelon Wes does not want to carry.
They had a shirt. I wanted it really bad too. It said I carried a watermelon. But
awesome.
It was a female shirt, so I'm like, I don't want to walk around in this tank top with glitter.
You are a female. You are a female.
I'm like, excuse me, why the disrespect to all the guy fans of Dirty Dancing?
Yeah.
Like almost everything they had was girl related.
Yeah, all two of them.
Like for sale.
I can't imagine why.
All two of them.
Right,
I was actually shocked by how many guys were there. Now, admittedly, it could have been guys that's wives dragged them there. I don't know. But
gay guys.
How dare you?
Yeah, it's a stereotype.
I am offended.
Yeah.
As a straight male, I am offended.
Well, thank you, Nathan. Well, David, as you're offended, have you seen anything that hasn't offended you? Recently, you want to talk about, apart from Ax'Em, of course.
God, it takes. I don't know. I am almost impossible to offend. I mean, if you guys know me as you do, I'm just very easygoing, one of the biggest smartasses in the world. If I'm talking, I'm probably being sarcastic most of the time.
Are you being sarcastic now?
No. Oh. You'll never know.
No, never know exactly. But
sarcastic, you?
I know, shocking, right? I just want to apologize ahead of time because as I'm listening to you guys talk, I have to keep reminding myself I'm not listening to the podcast. I'm actually part of it.
It's a kind of meta thing, isn't it?
It is.
I've listened to 130 some odd episodes now. You know, just hours and hours of my life wasted.
Well, yeah, there is that.
I have to forget.
But now's your chance to shine.
Yeah. If I don't fall asleep, I apologize. So Joseph, come poke me with a stick or something.
It'd be a very long stick.
It won't be the first time.
Yeah, well.
Nah.
So is anything you've watched then, say apart from Ax'Em, that you thought you'd like to share with us?
Me?
Yes.
Oh. Other than the autopsy of Jane Doe, I haven't really seen anything new lately. But I have bought a lot of DVDs and Blu-rays of older movies. One I think you guys have always should talk about is Evil Ed. Not Evil Dead, Evil Ed.
Okay.
That one is just hard to find a physical copy of for some reason, but I got lucky on eBay and found like a Swedish DVD or something that thankfully had an English audio track on it, but I was kind of skeptical until I got it. I just love that movie. It's so over-the-top, ridiculous, gory, and just... I mean...
Is it sweet?
The dialogue, like, where is my fucking beaver rape scene?
Is it? But it's Swedish film, isn't it?
Just classic.
Yeah, but it's Swedish.
I think so. Yeah.
Or Danish or something, isn't it? Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen it, but would you classify it as a slasher movie?
Yeah, because it's about a guy that edits like really gory horror movies, and there's lots of segments there where they're just like. I think the series he's editing is called Loose Limbs. And he's like working on part 7 while they have 8 and 9 already filmed, and it's just obviously making fun of like Friday the 13th and stuff. And eventually just goes crazy and starts killing people, so it's kind of a slasher. I know it sounds like Evil Dead, but it's not like a demon movie or anything like that.
Cool. Has anyone else seen that?
No.
No, I remember.
I saw it a long time ago, just once.
Like I said, it's hard to track down for some reason. I don't know why.
I remember enjoying it, but it's been so long. I'll have to revisit.
Hasn't it got the kind of the cover? It's got someone's head split in half, isn't it? I seem to remember.
Yeah, that's the best cover. They have a couple different ones, but that's the best one to find.
Cool. Okay. Well, that's one we can always add to the ever-growing list. Of slash movies and horror movies we'll be covering. We've been having some internal discussions, if that's quite the right word, about what we're going to be covering in the future, but we shall be sharing that with you. In fact, actually, I don't think we've actually chosen... Have we chosen a film for next time?
Well, I think Nathan might have.
Yeah, Nathan has.
Okay, well, Nathan will tell us at the end of the show, but thank you, David. Erik, how about you? What have you been watching recently?
Okay, yeah, I saw one that I really, really liked. It's called The Rift. It's a 1989 film. It was one of those underwater cash-ins that were made in the wake of The Abyss. So things like Leviathan, Deep Star 6, Lords of the Deep. And for my money, this was the best of the lot. It's an underwater adventure film where a rescue mission is sent to the depths of the ocean to find out what happened to a missing submarine, and they come across all kinds of weird gribblies and thribblies and a DNA experiment gone wrong. Now, why do I like this film so much? Well, it might interest you to know the director is Juan Piquer-Simon, who made Pieces, of course, which is why it's in my consciousness at the moment, because I don't know, are we allowed to say what the Pieces connection is, Justin?
It's been announced.
Yeah, we're recording a commentary for Pieces tomorrow, so I was just brushing up on some of the director's back catalogue. So I watched this one. I'd never seen it before. I thought it was a lot of fun. The first half is quite slow. The second half is just blisteringly paced with tons of gore, tons of monsters, lots of silliness. It has Ray Wise as the lead actor in it, which is weird because he's become kind of a star since. I mean, he was in Twin Peaks, wasn't it? And he was in the Jeepers Creepers movie and that type of thing. So it's really incredibly entertaining. If you could, it reminded me a lot of things like Galaxy of Terror and Forbidden World. So if you can imagine that sort of set underwater and from the director of Pieces, then I think you'll get a gist of what the film is like. I thought it was a lot of fun and easily the best of the Abyss cash-ins from that era. I'd seek it out if I were you. It's called The Rift.
Okay, I've never seen it, but I remember seeing it in Fangoria back in the day, and it looking.
I was
cheap.
surprised about how the only reason I sourced it was just to have something to talk about on the Pieces commentary track. But I'm really glad I did, because I thought it's better than Slugs in my opinion.
Oh, really?
Which was one of Peter Simon's other sort of big hit with the 80s. Not as good as Pieces, obviously, but then very little is, except maybe Ax'Em.
Fair enough. Has anyone else seen The Rift?
No.
No, not yet. I will soon, though.
Cool. Okay. Well, thank you, Erik. Anything else?
No, that's about it. Yeah, I saw The Autopsy of Jane Doe as well on my... well, it's an illegal setup, but my finger slipped on the X button on my controller and it started playing. So it's not really my fault.
Okay. Well, you tell that to the cops. Joseph, how about you?
The only thing I've watched aside from The Autopsy of Jane Doe was the Inside Number 9, the Devil in Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about
that you were talking about that. Yeah. I really did like that a lot. It does remind you of a thriller episode, right down to the camera and film stock they use, which I believe is probably videotape. It feels like a Brian Clemens kind of revival. I'd like to see more from that show, actually. I mean, are there other episodes?
Yeah, there's two. There's two series, but they're all shot on sort of regular film. That one's just that one in particular has a 70s type feel, but they are really good.
Yeah,
they're all separate episodes. They're all separate stories in each episode. So.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed that, so I'll probably try to watch some more of those. But that's pretty much all I've seen. I've just been so busy lately, haven't had a chance to watch anything.
Fair enough. But yeah, the guys behind the League of Gentlemen, obviously, we talked about that. It's not the superhero thing, but the British show. But I mean, they're very much into kind of horror movies, and I just watched their kind of roundtable chat about the abominable Dr. Phibes, which is on
they're on the Dr. Phibes, and they have a commentary track on it as well on the DVD, on the Blu-ray.
Yeah, which is really good. So. Excellent. Well, thank you, Joseph. I'm just going to briefly mention the only thing that I've seen a new part. Well, we watched for our sins, Gods of Egypt, which is not a horror movie. And I won't really talk about it.
I've seen that.
Have you seen it? It's hilarious, isn't it? It's hilarious.
Yes.
It's got some of the worst CGI in it for a $140 million movie. It's kind of it's no wonder it kind of bombed. But the film I was going to mention was I watched The Forest with Natalie Dormer, who was played Queen Marjorie, I think, in Game of Thrones. Also in the Tudors. What?
She's the Queen of Margarine.
Marjorie was my favorite character, so I loved her.
But she's in The Forest, which is kind of was out this year. It did get a cinema release over here, but it was out. I got it on Blu-ray through Love Film. And it's basically a story of a woman who travels to Japan to find out what's happened to her missing twin sister, and she finds out that her twin was seen walking into the forest, which is kind of the suicide forest, which is kind of a real place in Japan where people go and kill themselves. And they find loads of bodies in there all the time of people who've topped themselves. So she goes in there, but they say, all the locals and people say that you shouldn't go in there because it's full of ghosts and bad spirits and things like that. So as probably predictably, as you can imagine, she goes in there and starts seeing kind of weird shit and stuff. And so I was thinking back on to when the first Ring movie came out, Ringu, and The Jew and the Grudge and all those kind of, but the original Japanese ones back in the late 90s, I think, wasn't it? Sort of mid to late 90s, and getting The Ring on videotape from the States or from Japan. Someone sent me a copy of it, so it was kind of, again, quite meta, really, that whole thing of actually watching The Ring on the videotape. So I was kind of hoping that I hadn't seen many Japanese horror movies for a while. I went through a real phase of getting them from Hong Kong and getting all the sort of Asian releases, all the latest kind of ghost movies. So this was very much along the lines of the kind of The Ring well, they're not the first Ring remake because that was quite good, but those kind of they kind of Asian remakes like the Shutter one and things like that. That it just got very very silly. And it had a few good bits in it, but it kind of ends with a typical kind of like silly kind of ghost shock moment. But it was passable. It was fun. It was a fun ride while it was. But it was, Has anyone else seen it?
I did, yeah.
What did you think?
I thought it was kind of forgettable from what I remember. I remember, as you said, kind of enjoying it at the moment, but I can't really recall much about it. It is it's on Netflix as well.
Okay.
For people who are interested.
What did someone else say they'd seen it?
Yeah, I have, and I would. I was talking about The Forest, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to carry on?
I was just gonna say I would much rather watch The Forest from the '80s. Sadly.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree.
Of course you do.
Well, that is one for the
But I love
early
that
'80s we haven't seen yet, isn't it? That's the one with the ghost children, isn't it? I seem to remember. But
yes.
But David, we're also going to be because we did ask people for a top 3. We thought it'd be a good idea to do a top 3 for our birthday episode. But because we are on slightly limited time today, we're going to save that for the next episode. But as you are our guest of honor, and you had actually put together a top 3 of what did you do? Sexiest kind of men or sexiest people in slash movies? What was your?
I think it was just most attractive slasher cast or characters.
Right.
I think that's what it was.
Cool. Okay. Well, do you want to rattle through yours? Well, not rattle. Take your time, but to say which is your kind of top 3 most attractive slasher movie victims or kind of people, at least cast members.
Yeah, it's if you had asked me like 10 years ago, I would have went with Linnea Quigley, Kathleen Kinmont, like, a lot of the older scream queens. But there's just like, I don't know, these some newer young girls that have been in a lot of slasher movies lately that would just like really up their game, I will throw in an honorable mention. Sorry, I'm just reading it off here. To the actors that played Mark and the Ghoul from The Night Before Easter.
Who was that?
Nathan Johnson and Joseph Henson, I think.
Oh, yeah. They're dreamboats, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm just going to throw an honorable mention there.
I'd almost.
It's one of them's married to Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah. I've seen a picture of Jennifer Aniston with Nathan Johnson's head on it.
That's a Scream 2 reference there.
Yeah.
Well,
I'd almost forgotten about that movie until you brought it up. Thanks a lot.
You should see I've seen some fan porn of it's terrible things that Joseph's doing to Nathan.
Well, why am I the one that's having it done to me?
Well, I don't know. You have to ask the person.
Why am I the perpetual victim?
You'll have to ask. You have to ask Inga69, who that's the person who posted it.
Inga69.
Yeah. But anyway, David. Sorry, carry on.
It's okay. Number 3, I put Danielle Harris. I didn't know if you wanted specific movies, so I'll put See No Evil 2.
From Halloween 4. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, you stole my joke. Come on.
Sorry.
I was going to say I shouldn't say from Halloween 4. So I'll say from Halloween 5.
Ooh, yeah, she's hot in that one, in fairness.
That year of difference really, really changed a lot of... So my big number 2, to get off the pedophilia...
Hey, can we play the cat?
Give him the cat.
What?
Oh, sweet Jesus, yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hold on. Here we go.
It's like a dream come true. I'm sorry. Anyway, number 2, Tiffany Shepis from Bloody Murder 2 and just about anything else that she's in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you still got your Bloody Murder obsession?
Yeah, I actually have not bought another copy of that for some time.
How many have you got? Have you got ones from every country in the world?
Just about. I have like about 10 different versions from 10 different countries, I think.
We did cover that, didn't we? The first one?
No, that's going to be the next episode. So
have we not covered
go ahead and rewatch it tonight. And,
we did, and David's the one who picked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the terror of Trevor Morehouse. But, so okay, well, yes, well, so did we say we have covered it? We've covered so many movies now, haven't we? It's kind of, I think we are going to end up picking something that we've already covered at some point.
I'm pretty sure I bought that for 50p and then on eBay, and it only played until halfway through, so I had to go to Bidnam to get the full copy of it.
Oh, Erik, you got a parrot on your shoulder today, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. What was the film that you were convinced we'd covered, Erik? And
it was Blood and Black Lace.
That's right.
Which I'm still convinced we've covered
in a parallel dimension.
Yeah.
But David, your number one. Who's your big number one?
My number one is Alexandra Daddario.
Who?
She is in some terrible movies like Texas Chainsaw 3D. She was in Bereavement, the prequel to Malevolence. And if you want to see a whole lot more of her, go see the first season of True Detective.
Oh,
God.
Yeah, her.
Yeah.
If you want to see everything about her, go see that.
What, is it worth sitting through that garbage the second time?
You can fast forward. I actually didn't mind the first season of True Detective. It was really slow, and it just kind of wrapped up too fast in the last 2 episodes, but I thought it was all right.
To me, it got way too slow. I could not stick with it. Like, even the parts that are supposed to be, like, exciting, like, I was just thinking, oh, man, what time is it? How long has this been on? An eon?
I could see that.
About her, is she the main, is she like the heroine, quote unquote, in Texas Chainsaw 3D?
Yeah, the 20-year-old that's supposed to be 40. Yeah, her.
Because
she's also in an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. You'll recognize her from that.
Which one was she in?
The rich girl that Charlie falls in love with. And then eventually breaks up with her for the waitress.
Shippers of goods and that one.
Fun fact, which was probably just a fun fact for me only, but one of Wes's teachers when he was in college that he still kind of talks to is her aunt. So I have connections, like very tenuous ones.
Could you get me her number?
Okay, I'll be like, Wes, can you Facebook your friend that was the teacher and get the number for her niece?
You could see if she'd be in Shoe Rack Massacre 4.
Yeah. See, I could have got her to be in one of my movies.
Shoe Rack Massacre.
It's guaranteed to be just as good as Texas Chainsaw 3D. Which
can't be worse.
In all fairness, I don't hate that movie anymore because I rewatched it not long ago and I actually enjoyed it a lot more. But I watched it in the mindset of this is trash, so watch it as trash. And when I did that, I was like, this is actually kind of fun. My only problem, I thought, was that the carnival scene, I thought they should have done more with that. Because Leatherface at a carnival with a chainsaw, that was awesome. And, it just kind of, was a letdown, the carnival part. I thought he would be like at the Ferris wheel, like when people come down on the Ferris wheel and he starts hacking their heads off.
Did you watch it in 3D?
That'd be fun. Yes.
You did? Was it good in 3D? Was it worth watching in 3D?
There was a few scenes where, the chainsaw came out of the screen, but for the most part, I didn't think the 3D was worth it. Okay. Just because the few moments that were in good 3D, they were just too few and far in between.
Fair enough. Well, but thank you, David, for your top 3, and it was.
If I could, I would like to change my number 1.
Oh, okay.
If I could change that to my fiance Angela Rudig,
I think
as the most beautiful woman in the world, and not because she's sitting right next to me.
She said,
"But has she been in a movie though? Because this was movie specific." So,
not ones that I could show.
Movies. Okay.
Those
but on VHS tapes shoved under the mattress. She's been in those.
Welcome to the glamorous world of the Hysteria Continues. So
yes.
If I disappear, you'll know why.
Okay.
Yes.
And welcome, Angela. We could hear you. I thought we could hear you in the background, so welcome to you too. So thank you for both being on the show. And if you do want to pipe up, Angela, about anything, and especially you can maybe help explain David's obsession with the movie we're just about to cover. And David, do you want to regale us with maybe a little synopsis of this masterclass?
There's a synopsis as well as a trailer.
Well, I don't know. We normally have.
Wait a minute. Is that an official trailer? I thought that was something Joseph put together because it sounded more like they were making fun of it than
I
trying to
found
advertise it.
I found that on YouTube, actually.
Okay.
Well, David, do you want to?
I'll read off the back of the VHS, but
that would be good.
I don't think whoever wrote this had anything to do with the movie, or they clearly didn't see it. But, should I go ahead?
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Okay. It was supposed to be an exciting weekend getaway, and it was, until the terror began. Michael and his friends embark on a weekend retreat to his grandfather's cabin in the woods. Unbeknownst to them, Harry, a childhood friend, has returned to avenge the death of his family killed 13 years ago. One by one, they fall victim to Harry's revenge. Stranded in the woods, Michael and the gang must put an end to Harry's bloody reign of terror before he puts an end to them. With a few hysterical happenings along the way, to say the least, Ax'Em is a heart-pounding suspense thriller that will keep you screaming for more.
So they clearly hadn't seen it when they wrote that. But so why, David? Tell us why. Why?
Yeah. Why?
Why?
Because I love you so much.
Well, that's no excuse. But tell us how you got to know this movie. Is it something Is it something you saw back in the day, or is it something that you've because it has a bit of a cult, doesn't it?
I won't even say that.
Well, not really a cult, but like
You're being too generous.
An infamy.
Yeah.
An infamy.
Yeah. Around the time when video stores stopped selling VHSs, I went to them and I was just picking them up like 30 for like $1.50 each. And this is just one random one that I picked up because I thought it was weird that it comes in a yellow VHS cassette, which I found out later, and with other movies I found with similar colors, that's usually a bad sign. Also, when the label is so cheap, it just looks like somebody made it and threw it on there. It says Ax'Em YP479. So apparently that's the official name of the movie. Or maybe there's just 478 other ones. I'm not sure. So I randomly watched it, and I haven't seen it on DVD yet. I just have this VHS tape. And for some reason, the VHS, when you watch it on your TV, it only takes up like a small square in the center of your TV. So it's even worse because you just can't even see the movie. I mean, the quality's bad, but then the image itself is so small.
Is that not a blessing?
Like well, yeah, but it's just it makes it even more challenging.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just... I'm like Nathan. I can appreciate just about anything, or at least, if it's so bad, you can enjoy it. But this is one that's just so bad, I had to make other people watch it. So I've made my other friends watch stuff like this and other terrible things. So of course, I eventually was going to make you guys have to watch it too. Maybe because you talked bad about bloody murder. I'm not going to say.
Oh, it's kind of.
You made your friends watch Ax'Em. Are they still your friends?
Kind of, sort of. I don't see them too much anymore, but they probably enjoyed it more than when I made them watch all 3 Human Centipede movies.
Was that that sounds like a fun evening?
Yeah.
I mean, I think with David, we're going to come back to you for more, but I think given that Nathan has a how can I put it, a reputation. It'd be interesting to hear what Nathan's take is on an Ax'Em. Is this your first time at the rodeo with this one?
No, I rented it from a movie gallery back when it first came out. Because
you paid money for it?
Yes, I paid like $3.99 to rent it for. It was like 2 nights, I think.
That's the same money as the budget, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about the equivalent.
Yeah.
I knew that I was in for something terrible when the opening title scroll came up, and you guys know what I mean with all the spelling and grammar mistakes, especially the ending. How do you even get that wrong? Obviously, they're supposed to say, "Then this mean man killed himself," which just sounds kind of funny anyway.
Revenge. He wants to revenge his family deaths.
He will revenge his family deaths, but then it says, "Then is mean man killed himself," and I'm just like, why did you not have anybody proofread this thing? Like, why? I don't
It's like the back of the VHS, they tried to coherently rewrite that. Like somebody who knew English rewrote it for the case.
I also love Townsman. But anyway, no. And then of course the movie gets started, and it's like you're watching like a hip hop dance thing where people are like in a circle, and there's these people dancing, and then there's like a group of people telling yo mama jokes, and I was just thinking, okay, this is an odd way to open the film, because when I usually watch a movie, a lot of people at the beginning they try to hook you in, so like the opening scene is usually something that makes you want to keep watching. So I don't know why Michael Maffume decided to do the opposite, and not have a hook at the beginning. I mean, at least throw in like some kind of murder or something. I mean, not that it would have mattered, because...
To be fair, after that, I did feel like I was served.
Well, there you go. That was the joke. Maybe they were biggest joke of all.
They were just trying to do a you got served kind of thing.
But you guys, I mean, we've kind of said it, a little bit already, but I mean... It's just a bunch of people rambling incoherently, because so many people are talking at once in a lot of scenes that there's no sense of anybody as a character. It's just this big group of people, and there's absolutely no sense of character. And a funny story, back when I was 15, and this is when I was making my old Federal Massacre type movies, the shoe rack movies. I thought to myself, trilogy. I thought to myself,
much better, by the way.
Thank you. I thought to myself, even back then, when I was only 14 or 15, but I thought, hey, I could make a feature-length movie. When my family get together for one of their get-togethers, I'll just film them talking and then film random murders throughout and have a 90-minute movie. But then later, I was sitting at my family get-together, and I'm like, who'd want to hear all these conversations? It'd be so boring. And then, but unfortunately, Michael Maffume didn't think the same way. He, thought it was okay to throw all these people together and have them have these conversations that go nowhere and don't expand the plot whatsoever. But anyway, I'll tell you something I did like was the scene where the guy wiggles his glasses in fright. I thought that was funny because it was...
I often do that as someone who wears glasses. I'm actually doing it right now.
And then the one other scene that really got me is when they all run outside and the killer is out there, and then they run back in screaming, and one guy just runs right up to the camera and just starts screaming right in the camera lens. I'm like, I just felt like these people, I mean...
He got a bit too excited.
Like they were probably, I feel like
it's one of the few hysterical happenings that the VHS talks about.
Yeah.
I feel like, they were all having fun making this movie, but it just didn't translate for the audience. I don't know that I necessarily hate it, I guess maybe as much as some other guys on this podcast might, because, I can always try to find at least something enjoyable to watch. But I will admit that this one was a little bit more difficult to find moments that I really liked, mainly because... At least in a movie, take, Terror at 10 Killer, which I get a lot of flack for. At least I know what's going on in that movie. I mean, in something like this one, I just, I don't really know what exactly is happening or why. And I watched it more than once. Either did they. Yeah. It was just run around screaming and we'll throw a few kills in at the same time. But, I mean, it's the worst slasher movie I've ever seen. I don't, hate it. I don't want to say I just outright hate it, but it's just not a good movie, if I'm being honest. So that's my 2 cents.
Right. Well, thank you, Nathan. Well, I think it's a testament to your to your nature that you can say it's the worst slasher movie you've ever seen, but you didn't hate it. So Erik, how about you?
Okay, well, I did hate the film quite a lot. I just found it as yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I can't even describe it as a film. I just found it a really frustrating experience trying to watch it, on many levels. And one of them being the audio levels that we've been talking about, where you just can't hear the dialogue. If there's one person speaking on screen, it's like they sound like they're about 40 miles away from the microphone, and it's muffled and you can't hear it. Then when people are close enough to a microphone to be picked up, there's about 7 or 8 people all talking at once, so you can't make out what's being said. As Nathan said, there's no sense of who the characters are. There's one guy with glasses who looks kind of like Spike Lee that sort of is there throughout the film. I have no idea what this character's name is or anything. And so it's just a frustrating experience because there's just nothing to hook you as such. I mean, even, as Nathan was saying, Terror at 10 Killer, at least it feels like a film. It has dialogue and a plot as such, whereas this one feels like that this guy and his friends went up to the cabin for a party and they just videoed it, and this is sort of the raw outtakes and that they've just cobbled together. It feels very much like a home movie. Is that a cat?
That would be our stupid clock in the living room that I hate.
I was like, the cats have the same exact meow over and over again.
Yeah, I didn't. I forgot to turn that off.
It's okay.
It's strangely fitting.
But I did want to say, Eric, that I love the fact that you admitted, but you kind of had to struggle to admit that Terror at 10 Killer had a plot.
Yes, I know. I had to admit it. I'll tell you, when I was watching Ax'Em, I was thinking, God, all those times I've slagged off Nathan for the movies like Terror at 10 Killer and Blood Lake and Hollywood's New Blood. I know that wasn't your pick, but they were so much easier to watch than this. This was just so difficult to watch. Mainly because the audio problems. You couldn't get into the film at all, and it does. I stand by my statement that it feels like we found somebody's video of a party they were at, and it's just sort of they've switched the video on, took some footage of people around the table laughing, switched it off, then went off and did another shot, and it just cobbled together that way. I mean, there's a point in it where you can actually hear the director shouting "cut," and I think there's another point where you hear him say, "Okay, the camera's ready," just before some actors enter the scene, and it's this kind of shoddiness. I suppose that's kind of endearing in a way, but I don't know. I just found the film just incredibly dull to watch. Incredibly, it reminded me a bit of a Jan Terry video, if technically, but I love Jan Terry. And I think her videos are fun, and I think her songs are wicked. But this, I don't know. And I'm like the one thing that is audible throughout the film is the hip hop score, but I don't like hip hop music, so that wasn't going to draw me in at all. I'd be very surprised if the film took more than one night to film. It looks like it was all filmed in one night. It has that just rushed, cobbled together, not two fucks given about how any kind of technical competency or anything. I was gobsmacked. I mean, I'd heard about this Ax'Em thing for so long, but I was expecting it to be a sort of a Terror at 10 Killer or a Blood Lake. I wasn't expecting it to be just sort of this very random, poorly technical, this poor audio technical crappy fest thing that it turned out to be. As I said, it feels like just random scenes stuck together for 70 minutes with no, care given to make it into a what you recognize as a film. I mean, even Doris Wishman did better with her sort of 20 minutes of footage she had to make into A Night to Dismember. This is just so incoherent and unwatchable, and I hated every second of it. I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry.
I hate it. Though, actually, there's one scene I did like. They about an hour into the film, they all find a car in the woods, and they all stand there jumping up and down, jumping a lot and screaming. And it was just so stupid that it made me kind of chuckle, but it only lasts for about 60 seconds. And the high-waisted jeans, from the 1991-92 high-waisted jeans were kind of funny as well. But no, I never want to see Ax'Em again. If we're ever covering anything close to Ax'Em ever again, then I will be on holiday that week.
All right. Well, thank you, Erik. Another treasure trove for the back of the video blurb there for the Blu-ray deluxe edition, which is upcoming, I'm sure. Joseph, how about you? What's your relationship to Ax'Em?
Well, I had like Nathan rented this unwillingly. Well, unwittingly knowing.
Wishingly. Yeah.
Well, wittingly, but not knowing what I was in for. Back before video stores went kaput. And boy, this is the most technically incompetent. I don't even want to call it a movie. It's just like Erik said, it's just footage, and it's kind of amusing in a way because you can tell Michael Mafume, or however you pronounce his last name. You can
Muffle Me.
Yeah, Muffle Me. Yeah, there you go.
Muffle Me. Yeah.
Very good.
You could tell he had access to some film stock, but he probably ran out because it switches to VHS like often. So I kind of got a chuckle out of that, but man. I was reading some background on this, and apparently, he's a big Spike Lee fan. So, if Spike Lee, may do the right thing, this is probably do the wrong thing.
Boom, boom, ching.
Yeah, it's just so awful. There's barely, I wouldn't even say there's any redeeming qualities outside of some unintentionally kind of humorous moments, like the old man at the beginning who's kind of wandering around the house, just kind of rambling incoherently, and then the killer. I like that the killer walks right past him in the hall in kind of a nod to The Exorcist 3, the hallway scene, which is scary. But what I mean is the killer's actually right behind him, but when the man's in the bedroom, it takes the killer another 30 seconds to get in the bedroom to kill him. And the whole time he's like, God damn it, these kids, I'm going to go through there and I'm going to find them, God damn it. And then the killer raises the machete and he's like, oh, shit.
Shit.
The way he does that, yeah. And I don't know, little moments like the dude, wiggling his glasses. I thought it was so stupid that it was just kind of funny. But man, there's really nothing to recommend this travesty. It really is, without hyperbole, the worst slasher movie I've ever seen. And sometimes I like to go on message boards for fairly decent films, and people are like, "This is the worst movie I've ever seen." And I'm like, "Have you ever seen Ax'Em?" That's pretty much all I can say about it. It really is the worst slasher movie of all time. It's easily the worst thing we've ever covered on the show, ever.
Yes.
Well, the only way is up, isn't it? I think that's kind of fair to say.
See, I've done you a favor because it's all uphill from here.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Well, thank you, Joseph. I just kind of weigh in. I kind of pretty much agree. I can't say there were bits of it I found quite amusing. I zoned out. We talked about this before with some the biggest crime a slasher movie or any movie can have is not to be bad; it's to be boring. And I think, given that you would have to have bat ears to actually be able to understand most of the dialogue. And amazingly, when I looked into the huge crew on this film, massive amount of people working on it, there were 3 people in the sound department, if you can believe such a thing. So.
Yeah, Helen Keller was one of them, I think.
Helen Keller. Who's a famous deaf person? But anyway.
Beethoven,
yeah.
Marley Matlin.
So it was, yeah.
I really like Ax'Em.
It was, so incompetent.
Is that politically correct, Joseph?
Well, that's how she talks.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, move on, Justin.
She's made fun of herself on Family Guy, so it's okay.
Yeah, so that makes it all right.
Okay. Right. Well, anyway, it was it was a chore to get through. I kind of even the very worst slasher movies, when it starts people slashing and the killer turns up, there's usually some redeeming features, and there is. If I'm being ultra generous, there's kind of a few scenes which made me laugh, like the guy running up to the camera, mugging in front of the camera, everyone running screaming through the house, and just people. I also like the fact that obviously the director did a homage to Mario Bava and Dario Argento in the corridor scene at the end with the 2 colour gel lights, which I think added a nice bit of class to the production.
Yeah, it was really classy. Yeah,
yeah, but
it redeemed the film in many ways. I thought, yeah.
But it was just kind of the other thing. I like the girl or the woman in the car who gets left behind in the car and decides to walk through the woods alone, and she can't go for more than 2 steps without tripping over. She's got to be the clumsiest person, in the world, because she just doesn't. I know it's a cliche, people falling over in the woods and stuff, but she just can't literally go more than 1 step without tripping over something. some of the gore effects weren't too bad considering, there was a machete to the head and to the arm, and those kind of, at least, I'm being trying to look. I'm digging for shit truffles in a big pile of shit here, but the bits I'm trying to say some nice things about it. Or
you're like Shakespeare.
I know, thank you. Yeah. Is that there were a few bits that just kind of made me chuckle. So the gore effects weren't too bad. I think the killer could have been, could have worked better. It kind of reminded me a little bit of House of Death, him with the machete, because obviously there's only one axe murder in the film, even though it's called Ax'Em, although it wasn't actually called that originally, was it? And also bizarrely,
it's actually a hatchet, not an axe.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, there's that as well. So it's
it should be called a Hatchet'em.
Hatchet'em, yes. But the thing,
Ax'Em sounds better, I guess.
Yeah. But what I didn't understand was that, I mean, I know there's obviously no real rhyme or reason or thought behind this at all, but why was he getting revenge on this house full of teenagers? What was the idea behind it? Because I know he came back after 13 years for his revenge. What did they have to do with his family being killed?
Nothing.
Yeah. And why did he bleed yellow blood? That was the other thing I didn't really understand.
Alien?
Well, he's alien or zombie, I kind of guess. Also, it was kind
phantasm.
Yeah, well, exactly. But I think there was kind of it was a mix. You could see where he'd taken bits from, like Joseph said about The Exorcist 3, but obviously also I think the kind of setup was kind of from Madman, really, wasn't it? He had a bit of a Madman kind of a look about him, the killer. But overall, I mean, it is a travesty. It is the worst slasher movie I've ever seen. At 65 minutes, it feels like 65 hours, and it was just incredibly difficult to watch. I was just like, because you couldn't hear, as Erik said, if you could at least hear the dialogue most of the time, you could connect with it to some degree. But because you couldn't actually really identify what people were saying, it was like the most incompetent wedding video ever. Isn't it really?
Yeah.
And so it is mind-boggling that one, it was made, two, it got a cinema release, which we'll come on to in a little bit, or very limited, and then was rescued from obscurity, and somebody decided to put it out on video, and then DVD. It is mind-boggling, but it is out there, and I think you have to have the worst. And as they say, you can only, things can only improve, or it's like with addicts, isn't it? Or if you're an alcoholic or a drug addict, you've got to hit rock bottom, and I think we have hit rock bottom now, and so things can only improve. So that's my tuppence. So David, are you proud of yourself?
I also think that echoes back.
Is it?
I don't hear it. But one thing I was going to mention on the opening scroll, when it says on a cold winter night in 1990, and then later it says, legend has it he will return in 13 years. This movie was set in 1992. Is it supposed to be set in 2003? Because obviously these people are wearing like hammer pants and they have like high top afros, and it's just like totally not 2003 attire.
Maybe they thought that would never go out of style.
Maybe, yeah.
Well, there is a kind of school of thought. Well, I say school of thought. I mean, I think that somebody said, could it be that this is in fact an incredibly clever film that was put together by somebody it was some kind of like kind of thesis film where it's looking at deconstructing the slasher movie and doing a kind of a parody.
Yes, it is.
No. No.
Well, I don't really think that, but someone
giving
said
it way too much credit.
No, well, I don't believe that, but somebody was saying it could be that this was actually a genius film that was done, and everyone in it had gone to RADA and was stroking their chins all the way through, and were all kind of taking it incredibly seriously, and they were sitting around and having kind of they were saying we need to dub this because bits of it were, like you said, someone had shot and film, but there's another theory I saw. Someone said that they thought what had happened was that the guy who made it was too cheap to actually get he got a video master and then kept on cutting the video master over and over and over again, which was the reason that some of the shots were clearly like watching a 20th generation VHS tape that had been dubbed 20 times, and other bits looked almost semi-professional. So yeah, it's kind of it's a kind of a bit of an enigma. I'll give it that, but it's still a bit of a shit sandwich.
Very much.
Yes.
So would you guys say, you say it's the worst slasher movie, but would you say it's the worst movie ever made?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
I'd say probably in the top 5 at least.
Well,
Because people try to say like Night of Horror is worse, but whereas Night of Horror is really boring, I would rather stand in the woods alone with nothing going on, bored out of my mind, than being standing in the woods while somebody's pissing on my leg continuously for like 71 minutes. That's basically the equivalent of Ax'Em. Yeah, there is stuff that happens, but it's so awful and just like tedious to get through that it's like I would much rather just watch paint dry than the paint being like poured in my ear or something.
I do believe there probably are worse movies out there. I hate to say it, but I think...
What?
Well, no, I think there probably are. I mean, there's an awful lot of shot-on-video stuff and things that people are still making backyard movies now, and I'm sure there's probably something worse. I know...
I will find them.
I know Hayden and Phil, who are doing a kind of have been made their mission, who are writing the book, which name escapes me, but I was sort of looking it up. But it's they're basically doing compendium as many slasher movies, all slasher movies basically, and they've hunted down ones that have never been released. And you know, sometimes they post little clips from the films they're watching, and some of them look worse than Ax'Em. So I'm just putting that out there. Although this is bottom of the barrel, that maybe there is stuff under the barrel that, but hopefully we'll never get to.
Well, you know, in this day and you know, in this time frame that we're living in now, like anybody with a camera can like put something together and then call it a movie. So I mean, definitely the people can do something, you know, much worse than Ax'Em. I'm guessing like from the time frame when it wasn't that easy to make a movie, I consider it the worst one made.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's certainly no Gone with the Wind, is it?
No.
You don't think it's an epic?
It's not
like the epic horror film.
Frankly, I don't think Erik gives a damn about this movie.
Frankly, my
Does
dear,
this
you're
mean
right.
though? Does this mean that I'm not going to get flack ever again for my choices?
Oh no! We haven't learned anything from this experience. We're going to go back to blaming you. Don't worry.
Yeah. I think what we can do is we can always say that whatever you pick, there we can always say at least it's not as bad as Ax'Em. I think that's kind of,
okay. So I'll take that.
Well, I think I've said the kindest thing about this movie compared to everyone else.
Completely, yeah.
Yeah, so ironically. But anyway, so I know there are some interesting backstories to this film, isn't there? So do we want to... David, do you have any backstories?
All right. Ax'Em was originally called The Weekend It Lives, which, I mean, Ax'Em is a terrible title, but at least you kind of get the gist of what it's going to be. The Weekend It Lives, I don't... Like, what is it? The guy walking around with egg yolk on his face, in a flannel shirt, I don't know. It was originally, as mentioned before, made in 1992, and then it was picked up in 2002, 2003 by York Entertainment, which that was during the time in the early 2000s, post-Scream and all that, where they were just picking up anything they could find horror-wise to release it into stores. So I honestly think somebody found this, like, on a shelf somewhere under dust and just didn't even bother watching it and just retitled it so they could get it out there, because there's just no other possible reason I can think of. It was directed by Michael Mifune, as mentioned before, which even in the credits, the opening credits, it's kind of enunciated on there, like how to pronounce it, which is kind of sad. He's the son of Kwasi Mifune, who is actually the former president and CEO of the NAACP, which I thought was quite strange, and his father must be proud that his son set their people back, 100 years with this freaking movie.
That's not all he should be proud of.
Yeah. Before being picked up by York Entertainment, it was made by Too Smooth Film Productions, which I don't know if they've gone on to make anything else. God, I hope not.
Lord of the Rings trilogy.
But it was released January 29th of 1992 in Baltimore, Maryland, which means I can never go there again. And apparently it was actually shown theatrically in Maryland for a little while.
Dear,
That's what it claims on IMDb. So, God,
well, there is people on the IMDb message board who claim they saw it in the cinema. So,
and IMDb also estimates that the budget was $650, which is probably too high.
Yeah.
And it says it grossed worldwide 184 pounds. I'm assuming that's what that is. And I don't see it get mentioned anywhere else, but the VHS and DVD artwork was later ripped off by a Canadian thriller movie called The Dark Hours in about 2005. It's literally the same exact axe, but they just had a different picture in the background. Which that movie is miles better than this, but I'm just like, how desperate were they that they had to rip off the cover of this movie? In which The Dark Hours has an alternate art, which is actually the same exact art from the movie Slaughterhouse Massacre. So, yeah, they just weren't even trying, apparently. But, and I think that's about all I have.
Excellent. Well, thank you, David. That's a lot of background. But Nathan, how about you? What's you going to regale us with your intricate knowledge of the back end of Ax'Em?
No.
No. Okay. Joseph.
I love
it. Joseph, how about you? I know you've got some juicy bits.
Yeah. Well, apparently, Michael Mifune, in 1994. Was charged with rape in the state of Georgia. Apparently, I'm reading through some of these old newspaper articles. It says the 24-year-old son of Representative Kwesi Mifune has been charged with the rape of an acquaintance at her suburban Atlanta apartment after an early morning breakfast at a nearby restaurant. Police confirmed yesterday. This is July 21st, 1994. He was released on a $35,000 bond. His lawyers, he and his lawyers said Michael, like anyone else, is innocent until proven guilty. I don't know. I'm assuming he was released and he was found innocent. So whether or not he actually did that, I don't know. But I did find that about him. You know, as David said, his dad was the NAACP president, which is kind of strange. David pretty much covered everything I had other than the rape allegations.
And I didn't know about that, but I do know about the raping of everybody that had to watch Ax'Em.
Yeah.
And he should still be charged for that.
But also, Michael Mifune apparently is a video editor in Atlanta, Georgia now. Apparently, he's had several meetings with Spike Lee, who apparently is one of his heroes. I wonder if Spike Lee's actually seen this movie. Something tells me he has not. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't be hanging out with him. But that's pretty much all the background I have on the film.
Okay, well, thank you, Joseph. What about you, Erik? Have you got anything else?
Well, the only thing I have to add to that is that the actor, in inverted commas, Joe Clare plays a character called, I think he plays Tony in the film. Now, I'm looking at Joe Clare's official website here, and I think, judging from what he looks like now, I think he's the one who does the funny thing with the glasses. The one with the glasses, basically, is he is. But he's gone on to be a quite successful DJ in the Washington, D.C. area, and a stand-up comedian as well. And he actually has a degree in psychology, which makes you wonder why he didn't have the intelligence to say no to his friend when he was asked to be in Ax'Em. I don't know. So, yeah, he has gone on to great things compared to everyone else he co-starred with in Ax'Em. But yeah, that's all I have as well. I'm still absolutely astonished that it got to be. It not only did it play theatrically, whatever limited release it got back in the day, but the fact it was reissued on DVD, it just proved how saturated the market was back in 2002.
Eric, did you want to mention I know you and I had talked about it offline, the wiki article we found on it, but the plot?
Yes, yeah, there's a Wikipedia. Because I couldn't hear any of the dialogue, I was finding it difficult to follow the, quote, plot. I went to the Wikipedia page to see if there was a synopsis, not thinking there would be one, but there was. But it describes an almost completely different film. It is for Ax'Em, but it's definitely for Ax'Em because it has the cast list and it has the director Michael Mifune and it has the critical reception. But it describes incidents that don't happen in the film. Somebody getting their head crushed between two rocks. Let's see. Talking about
It basically sounds like the movie's about a guy and a girl, and he wants to have sex with her, but she wants it to be safe sex and him to wear a condom, and he goes crazy because he doesn't want to wear a condom or something. It's like a completely different movie they're talking about.
I know, yeah. And it has all these murders that aren't in the film. Somebody getting their eyes gouged out as well, or
maybe that stuff is in the movie. It's just the technical problems keep us from seeing or hearing it.
Maybe it is, but it says there's a post-credit scene as well. But that isn't.
And there's obviously there's not.
Yeah. So yeah, it's weird. We were wondering because the Wikipedia article makes it sound quite exciting, which, as we know, the film is not. So we're wondering if maybe Michael Mifune has gone in and edited the Wikipedia page to make it sound more thrilling, to trick people into buying it.
Well, possibly. I mean, it's one of the enigmas, isn't it, of this movie? Yeah. So anything else, Erik?
No, that's it. Do you have anything?
I've got a couple of things. I saw that the director, he's listed as being as just this film and another film that he made, or he was second unit director on a film called Death of a Nation, which was kind of the synopsis of that is John, an abused and tormented teenager who's seeking guidance and accepting in his own isolated world as intolerant to his newly self-discovered homosexuality. So it sounds very different to Ax'Em, doesn't it? But
yes, so I must seek it out.
Yeah,
quite.
I want to watch everything in this director's oeuvre.
But it's from 2010, so it's kind of relatively recent. On Wikipedia as well. There were some the critical receptions of this movie, and as you can imagine, most of them weren't particularly kind of positive. It said that Something Awful gave it the rating of -48.
Yes.
And I like the iMockery criticised the film heavily in one of their movie spotlights, remarking, "At the end of the credits, the word peace is shown. Never have I seen a stronger case for war."
Well, I mentioned to Erik in our little off thing. It said Michael Mifune in the special thanks section. The first person he thanks is God. If ever there were a case that there is no God, that's proof right there.
He also dedicated the movie to his mom or his grandma, I think, in the end credits too. Which just seems like a really mean thing to do.
He must really hate her.
I just kind of think
he hates his parents, apparently.
Yeah, but you can imagine if you made this movie, you were in this movie just for argument's sake, and you'd been gathered together, because I think some of the acting, it was pretty awful, but there were people, they were genuinely trying to act, weren't they? Some of the people in the house, and they wouldn't have known that the sound quality was so atrocious, so they would have thought they were actually making a movie. And so I just would have loved to have been a fly on the wall. Obviously, not to sit through the whole bloody thing again, but just to sort of see the faces of the people who were in the movie when it did get its premiere in Baltimore. That would have been quite entertaining.
Well, the editor of the film posted a message on the IMDb disowning the film, obviously, and he's gone on to have a career with Discovery Channel and History Channel at Film Notes. So he did make a career out of this. But it's quite funny. He says it was edited by sticking two VHS players together and editing it that way.
Which kind of makes sense, doesn't it? That's why I think some of the film stock or the video stock so different, isn't it? Because if they literally how they were doing it, it would have just degraded over and over again if they kept on, having different cuts of the movie.
I felt degraded watching it.
We all did, yes. Joseph, do you want to talk? What have our dear listeners been saying about this movie? Have they been kind of singing from the rooftops about it?
Yeah, there's a couple here. Donna Nelly says, "I dare you guys to watch the Christmas Season Massacre. That is worse than this one." And
is that one of Nathan's ones?
No, there's no way that it's worse than Ax'Em.
I've seen that movie, and he and I kind of disagreed on Facebook about it. Because Christmas Season Massacre, it's not good, but you could tell what's going on. Nobody talks at once. It's just individual people saying their lines, and they get killed off one by one, and it's really over the top, stupid, and it's probably not anything I'd watch again, but at least I know what's going on in it. So I kind of am of the idea, this is what he and I were kind of saying to each other, is, I mean, I would prefer a movie, even if it's not a great movie. I need to know what's going on in it.
Yeah, fair enough. Chad Hemsley says, not seen Ax'Em, but surely it can't be any worse than the terrible Phantom Killer with an F. I shudder thinking about it even now, a decade since I watched it. And I asked Chad, are you a betting man? Rob Doyle says, haven't seen this one, but I will rectify this before the anniversary show hits. By the way, wasn't Savage Water universally accepted as the worst slasher movie ever? Maybe at a time, but no. It's
better than this.
It's Citizen Kane compared to Ax'Em.
Yeah, it's like Rear Window, isn't it? Or Cape Fear compared to...
It is, really.
Or Bloody Murder.
Declan Gallagher, under the name Gecklin Gallagher, says, I actually hadn't heard of this until one of your very first episodes. I think Nathan picked it as one of his worst slashers. This may be the worst movie I've ever seen, and I'm not much for hyperbole, but I'm hard-pressed to think of anything worse. It's beyond incompetent, makes no sense, and can't even manage to be entertaining. And isn't it only like 65 minutes? Feels like 65 years. Brad Yasuda says, if I'd had enough dough during the gory graduation Indiegogo, I'd have a triple bill of Ax'Em, Detour, and Night of Horror. This is going to be fucking painful. As Inga says, though, suffering is good for pleasure.
Yes.
Michael Lake says, I'm already sure Nathan loves it. I myself haven't seen it. Who else? Jeremy Klein says, my copy of Ax'Em, it is pretty bad, but most movies York Entertainment put out were, and he posted a picture of his VHS. So there you go. Rogue Scholar says, never seen, bought the DVD purely because I need to see every movie you guys cover. Douglas Walt says, I watched it first when it came out. It was terrible then. It's terrible now. Clint Kelly says, hands down the worst movie I've ever seen. Dave Rendon says, so we go from Psycho to this, and people say I'm bipolar. And then Alan Dortch says, god awful. And finally, Erik Klingenberg said he lists 3 movies. I'm assuming he's trying to say these are worse than Ax'Em. He doesn't say anything else, but I'm going to disagree with him. He says, Axe Giant, The Wrath of Paul Bunyan from 2013, 666, The Demon Child from 2004, and the infamous Rock and Roll Nightmare from 1987. And no way is Rock and Roll Nightmare worse than Ax'Em. That movie is awesome.
I love Rock and Roll Nightmare. I
agree.
love the Paul Bunyan movie, the Axe Giant. I loved it too.
It was hilarious. And competent.
I haven't seen The Demon Child.
Yeah. But that's all we have for that.
Excellent. Well, thank you everyone who took the time to read it, and we do apologise to the few of you out there who decided to buy the movie just to join us in our pain.
So sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that. But if we got any other feedback, Joseph?
No, that's it. I know Erik has a joke of the week, and I have more questions for the game. But other than that, I think we're out of feedback.
Well, if you want to write in, I'll tell you. Well, this is a way to get in contact with the show because thank you for making our birthday special so unmemorable by not writing in, you bastards. But you can make up for that next time by writing in for our next show, which will tell you what that's going to be. But this is how to get in contact with the show.
Listen to the Hysteria Continues on iTunes, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to us on YouTube. You can email us directly at thehysteriacontinues@gmail.com. Keyword, The Hysteria Continues.
Yes, only joking.
Houseboat horror is better than Ax'Em.
Well, exactly.
It is.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
And we're all young and sexy here, so... And groovy. Erik has volunteered a joke of the week, so it's better be a good one.
It's awesome.
It's my joke of the week. It's so freaking fantastic.
Did you know that Eddie Murphy did the post-production sound effects for this film? He was the Ax'Em Foley.
Oh, Erik.
I don't get it.
Axel Foley, Beverly Hills Cop. Foley is sound effect.
What?
Axel Foley is this character from Beverly Hills Cop, and a Foley artist.
Foley artist is the guy that does the post-production sound.
Oh, sorry, I've never seen Beverly Hills Cop, so that's probably why.
See, I would have said his work was very raw.
I don't get that.
Eddie Murphy Raw.
Yeah, the stand-up thing.
I actually got.
How come Joseph doesn't get the bells and the tumbleweed?
Because mine was great.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah. Oh,
so anyway, see how low we sunk.
Yeah.
But thank you, Eric. No, I thought that was a very good one, actually.
Thank you.
But
before we wrap this episode up, I would just like to mention that we're almost going an entire podcast episode without any Susie or Toya mentions.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't let that happen, so...
You just mentioned her. Who'd you prefer, David?
I myself prefer a big fat cucumber.
Well, yeah. I think we all do.
Well, I must apologise for the last time when I intimated that ISIS should pay Toya's.
Yeah, that was horrible.
I know that. I do apologise for that. I was, yeah. Although I don't really. But no, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. You know, the pain of going to Toya concerts is enough. So.
Hey, you're evil.
What would you rather do, though, Justin? Go to a Toya concert or rewatch Ax'Em?
Rewatch Ax'Em.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
It's more tuneful.
What if they replace the hip-hop the soundtrack with Toya?
Oh, that would be the kind of thing they would have at Guantanamo Bay, I would imagine.
What happens if they replaced it with Susie songs? Would you watch it then?
Yeah, of course, it'd be much better. But anyway, see what you started, David.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that.
This is war.
You know, Hyena by Susie and the Banshees?
Yes.
That's the musical equivalent of Ax'Em. Ha! I came up with that myself. I should do like a dissing thing like the rap stars do.
Yeah, tell some Yo Mama jokes, Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your mama's so stupid. She likes Susie and the Banshees.
Toya's so fat.
Your mama's so stupid. She bought a glass door with a peephole.
I didn't laugh at that. I didn't.
Yeah, I heard it.
Right. Well, anyway, let's. I think we should move on. But
was that actually one of the jokes from the Ax'Em, or is that one you've made up?
No, there used to be on HBO back in the '90s. There used to be like a You Got Served TV show of people like telling Yo Mama jokes.
The only one I could
remember from there
on this was your mama was so stupid she studied for a blood test or something like that. It was the only one I could make out.
But I thought the one I didn't get was that he said, "Your mum was so fat she jumped in the air and got stuck."
Yeah, I didn't understand that one either.
What does that mean?
That's fat. That's fat.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, the most ridiculous one that I heard, I don't even know if it was in this movie, but for some reason it just popped in my head when y'all were talking, was somebody once had said, "Your mama is so fat, we're inside her right now." So, I mean, that'd be pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so let's draw a veil over Ax'Em for a moment. And Joseph, we got where are we up to with your competition?
Well, someone actually got the last questions right. It was Robert Chardello, and he correctly guessed Hell Night.
Excellent.
So
Well,
I have
congratulations,
3 new
Robert.
questions for a new movie, a new movie even. There you go. Anyway, first question is, and this is a new movie. The first clue is last? No. The second clue is we meet again, and the third and final clue is a seasonal director. So there are your clues.
Another mind bender.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you, David and Angela in the background for joining us for Ax'Em. Even though I think it's been quite a fun ride, probably more fun than the movie, hopefully, for people listening. At least, hopefully, you'll be able to hear what we're saying about. Can you imagine if we did the whole podcast as kind of like...
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be...
it was like aerobicide.
Yeah, well,
we'll get released by York Entertainment.
Yeah,
that's true. But I hope you've enjoyed being with us, and hasn't been too weird for you, sort of being on the other side of the screen, as it were. But no, it's been great to have you aboard, and good to finally meet across the interwebs finally. Thank you. Even though we can't
thank you, David.
Thank you for your choice of movie. It was a fun podcast. So yeah.
Thank you for coming on the show, but no, I unthank you for choosing Ax'Em.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's all uphill from here.
Yeah.
It is for our next choice.
Well, yes. Well, segues, I should say now, very nicely into the next one. And Nathan, it is your choice, isn't it? So is it Ax'Em 2, or what is it going to be?
Oh yeah, it's going to be Ax'Em Part 2, starring. I'll make it, and it'll be starring the Shoe Rack.
Yeah.
And Hazel Tankersley.
Oh yeah, I mean, how can I make a movie without her?
Exactly, that would be great.
No, I'm actually going to pick something like I feel is halfway decent this time. Actually, beyond halfway decent. I want to go with Night Warning, a.k.a. Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker.
Fantastic.
With the lovely Susan Tyrrell.
Excellent. No, that will be a good one. So we are kind of swinging back into a classic early '80s slasher, or maybe not.
And I don't think any can say it's not a slasher, because it's a slasher.
It's a slasher, and it's 1982, isn't it?
Yes, I think.
The key word here is that it's good.
So it's a palate freshener.
Yes.
Cleanser.
Okay, right. Well, thank you for listening, and thank you again to David for coming on Hysteria Continues. We will be back next time. So unless there's anything else we want to say, we'll say goodbye to the good people. And what are we playing out with?
Well, we all survived Ax'Em, so we're playing out with "I Will Survive" by, is it Gloria Gaynor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Justin would know that.
I wouldn't know that. That was Eric's pick, I believe.
No, Justin wanted that, and then he wants to finish with Weather Girls as well.
Well, I just thought it'd be an appropriate kind of thing. We all survived the film and the podcast, so yes, that's what we're playing out with. But no, thank you for listening. So say goodbye to the good people.
Bum Bandit.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, Eric.
I will put my foot so far up your ass.